Mm-hmm. Hey everybody, it's me, Tom, again in Western North Carolina, and this is going to be maybe the last video on how to make a shaving horse. And we're going to start. We've got our shaving horse all put together, or the horse part, and we've got our lever thing put together. So I'm going to take my lever thing, put it up under shaving horse, wash around my bolt, 3/8 inch by 8 inches long, put it through there, put a washer on right in there, there's a washer, poke it through that hole, sticks out just a little bit on this side, I'm going to put a washer on there, push that through, put a washer, and a nut, locking nut. Now tighten that up. You want it to be able to swing free here, not too tight, not too loose. Next thing is we're going to make the jaw. And we've rough sawn that jaw. I've already cut this one off, but if this is a little too long, just hold it up here and put a mark on it and then cut it off. You don't want it to be too tight, you know, because this has to rotate in here. But anyways, once you cut that off, what I do is I find the center line. And this is what's called a center point ruler. It makes it easy to find a center. But if you don't have this, you can find it some way or another. I'm going to mark that center. Then with my little square, I'm going to draw a line across there. And then I've got this little thing. I'm going to draw, using that center line, I'm going to make a little mark there. Then I'm going to turn that up 90 degrees, and using that same center line, I'm going to make a mark on this side. So now I have this laid out. There's a V there, center line, and a V there. Now the next thing I would do to this is I would take it to my drill press and I would countersink both of those holes, and then I'd go to the bandsaw and I would cut that V out, and then I would turn it up on its edge and cut that V out on the bandsaw. And then I'd go over to the sander and just touch this everywhere, smooth the ends. And you end up with something that looks like this. It's countersunk on both ends. It has a V notch on two of the sides. And the reason I put those V notches in there, and I put a V notch on the work platform, also the reason I put those on there is sometimes you have a piece of square something that you want to hold, and you want to hold it up on its edge, and those notches let you do that pretty easily with a square piece. Anyways, once you get this piece ready, get your other bolt and just put this in like that. Get your washer and your nut. And this that's why these three holes are here. You can put this in different place if you want to. I always have mine in the highest position and haven't ever had any reason to move it. But that's there in case you want to move it. These extra holes here. you know, and you tighten that up. You don't need to tighten it tight. You want that to be able to spin like that and be able to move it. And the reason this is not square is so you have two positions that instantly adjust the gripping area here. All right, we're getting close to the end now. I'm gonna move this over a little bit. And the next thing we're gonna do is we need to make the work surface that's gonna go on the top of this thing. This is our ratchet head so far. You remember it. But anyways, I put this in a vise sort of like this. But you need to make the work surface. And I make the work surface out of plywood. So anyways, the length of this is 11.5 inches. And the width is whatever it needs to be to fit in between those levers. You know, it has to go in right here. But anyways, you cut these out, and if you cut them out just right, they'll go right in between those levers. If they don't, you need to adjust them. And then what I do is I cut a notch in the top one. And this is sort of the corresponding notch to the notches in this jaw here. And I cut that on my table saw. I have my table saw tilted over to 45 degrees, and it's set to cut a notch in a piece of wood that's like 4.5 inches wide. And that's the only thing I use my table saw for. It's been set like that for well over a year now, never changed. But once I get that done, once I get to this point, then I cut this angle here on the front. And that angle happens to be, I set my chop saw, my trusty chop saw back here, I set it at 28 degrees, and the measurement from the corner into the cut right there is 1 3/16. But I would put this in my chop saw and cut this corner off, and then I just flip it over like that and cut the other corner off. And I come out with something looking like this. And once you get it looking like this, if you have a sander like I do, I can just sand all these sides together. If you don't have, you could clamp this in a vise and sand it and get them to match up real good. And then once I've done that and got it to here, I put on the bottom piece, I countersink 4 spots in there. And that's for the, I'll show you in a minute, you'll see. But I'm going to take these two, and this is the top. I set that down on the bench like that, and then I take the bottom piece, the one with the countersunk holes in, and I put it on this head like this. Clamp it on there. And this measurement right here, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's somewhere around 1.5 inches from this corner to right there. Somewhere 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches. I just eyeball it every time. But then I look like this, and what I'm trying to do is make sure that this piece here is overhanging, is wider than this. So I'm trying to get it so it's even on both sides. And I can look at it with my eyes, and I can feel it with my fingers right like that. You know, you want it to be even and you want it to be straight. But once I get it like that, once I get it straightened up, I put another clamp on like that. I don't want it moving around. Then I'm going to take 2-inch screws and I'm going to screw that onto there. And I'm going to put these screws in at an angle. I don't want them going straight into the grain. I want them angled in there. It'll hold better that way. And you want to make sure they go down in. You don't want the head to stick out at all. And I'm in it right now. I go around this bottom edge with this sandpaper. So that piece is screwed on there now with 4 screws. And then my top piece, I've got it face down. I'm going to set that right on top of there. Get my clamp. Clamp it down. And now I'm going to try to get those things lined up with each other. If you don't get them lined up with each other after you screw them together, you can re-sand them and get them just exactly perfect. Those are pretty good. So now I'm going to take 1 1/4 inch screw and screw these together. You do not want the screw to come out the other side. You can just reach over and do these back ones, but sometimes it's better to go ahead and clamp it too, so that the pieces stay together when you screw them. Sometimes when you screw them together, they'll jack apart. And so if you clamp it, that won't happen. I make those countersinks in here because I don't want that wood getting tore up by the head of the screw, but I also, it's the screws, if you don't do the countersink, when that head is countersinking itself, sometimes the screws, the threads strip out, and that's not good. Anyways, so you get it like this. If you have to, you can re-sand all these sides. And I see that, I've got some little burrs on here. But I'm going to do like that. And anyways, you end up with a piece. Your product looks like this. And we've already had this part in the shaving horse. And I'm going to try to move this back into the screen, into the view. And I'm going to hold this lever with my foot so I can get this in. But it's going to go right in like that. And it should just slip up and down. Now this one is actually fitting a little bit on the tight side right up here. And maybe I've got this too tight. But it's fitting tight. See, it's sliding free here. But when I let these levers back, it's fitting tight there. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go to the sander and make this a little bit narrower. But I'm not going to do that right now. You know what I'm talking about. You want this to be able to go up and down real easy. And this is not, because it needs sanding. So anyways, grab me a piece of wood. Bet you're ready to clamp something right like that. If I had my draw knife, I could draw knife a little bit. I didn't plan ahead very well, did I? But anyways, you could be right here shaving wood. Alright, that's how a shaving horse works. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys following along, and I guess that's the last thing on making a shaving horse. And I wish you guys all good luck, and hope you're doing well out there. I'm doing well here, and I guess I'm not sure when I'll make the next video, but it's probably going to be something about chair making. I'm going to try to make a series on making a chair, and it's going to be sort of similar to this one, where I'm going to try to do every single step and show you how to do it so you could actually do it yourself. And I mean, I don't want you to have to make a shaving horse, but there's lots of how to make a shaving horses on the YouTube that, not like this one, but they'll work too. So, you know, find one that you like and maybe come along with me and make a chair. Anyways, I'm doing well. Thankful for what I have. And I hope you can be thankful for what you have, and have a good day out there. And I hope to see you soon sometime on YouTube. Bye now.